Okay, welcome everybody to our data analysis subcommittee meeting. It is September 29th, 2022. I want to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I will note that we do not currently have quorum, so we are going to bypass any approval of minutes or anything like that. But Mr. Vogel, if you do note at any point that we reach quorum, I'd appreciate if you let me know so we can take care of business. So with that, we can jump in and take a look at doing some work. Oh, Gina?
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Oh, and Mr. Chair, we actually did just gain quorum with Ms. Robertus.
Yes. Hi, Ms. Robertus. Okay, with that, we do have quorum. So I want to check in the minutes from our last meeting, which would have been September 15th, are posted to the website. I want to check in and see if anyone has any questions, any concerns, any edits with the prior minutes. If not, we will go ahead and declare that the minutes are approved. Thank you, thank you. Okay, what I'd like to accomplish today is last time we met, we were working on building out some of the tables for data set 4. So we did some of the initial work, and then Mr. Vogel was kind enough to finish building those out for us. So I want to take a look at those. We'd also discussed how we wanted to display the data regarding domestic assault, and Mr. Vogel put together those pie charts for us. So we have those to take a look at today, see if we like how the display looks, see if it all, makes sense, from kind of telling this, story with the data. So I'm going to go ahead and pull them up on my screen, and we'll look at them together and go from there. Okay, is this showing up? Okay, can I get the, yep, I'm seeing acknowledgement there. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So I just want to go through this as a whole again. So what we have here is basically our disqualification analysis. So how this is going to start out is we'll take a look for 7-year disqualifications at 2018 versus 2019. And I think it's still important that we keep that year over year comparison, just so we can see very quickly, very basically how things looked from one year to another. But then what we do is we build out with these additional tables here where we take a look at 7-year disqualifications in 2018, and we can really take a look at the data, from big picture funneled down. So theft, we know is our top one here, but total number of disqualifications in 2018 would be the 2,938. Of that, there were 482 reconsideration requests. So only 16% of people requested reconsideration. Then we can go on over here and go total reconsiderations requests determined eligible to work. So out of those 428, 353 were determined eligible to work. So that means 73% were ultimately determined eligible. We've also got this overall comparison. So we go total determined eligible to work as a percent of total DQs. So if we take a look at that 353 out of the 2,938, that would be about 12%. So this just goes to a much deeper level. And we did that for each year separately. So we've got the 7-year for 2018, the 7-year for 2019. Then we go to 10-year disqualifications, and we can take a look at 2018 versus 2019 as a whole. So this allows us to see that theft again was at the top, in 2018 and 2019. And we can kind of just take a look at those comparisons year over year, which I think is nice. And then again, we go into the 10-year DQ analysis for 2018, where we have that much more detailed information. The one thing I'm thinking about here, though, that we might want to do is just to stay consistent, are we okay just doing the dashes rather than value? Is that okay? Yeah, okay, we will do that. And so I think we've got that. And we can take a look at 2019 as well, kind of in a deeper view. So I really like that we could see, wow, how often are these individuals determined eligible to work, out of those who actually requested, and how often, from an overall perspective, out of total DQs. And I think it's just enlightening, to see. And then we go to 15 years. So we've got the 15 years. So we got 2018 versus 2019 again to see if we, the lists stay relatively similar. And generally speaking, they do. And then we go into the deeper analyses, I should say, once again, year by year. So does that seem to flow? I guess my big question is looking at these, putting, a consumer hat on, someone who might be consuming the data other than us who've been looking at it for a while. Do these make sense? Do our labels make sense? Does the flow make sense? So I just want to pause for a moment, get your thoughts, see if you need me to scroll back or forth or anything, and well, let me know your thoughts.
It looks good to me, Roy. Looks clear and understandable, and I think useful.
Yeah.
I agree. Gina, are you in Duluth?
I'm in Brainerd at the MACAC conference.
The homeless conference is up north in Duluth. I was wondering if you're there. Can you remind me if we talked about this, and maybe this is too far-fetched, but I'm like thinking like I'm putting my politician hat on or my consumer hat on. And so we, like, if you go to the 7 year, the very slide 11, right? And so you have shoot, that's not what I'm thinking. Okay, slide 12. So for theft, there's 2,938 disqualifications, and then only 482 reconsideration requests were put in, right? And
Correct.
then if you look at the 482, 355 went through, which is 73%. So would it be worth just saying hypothetically at that rate, if you applied 73% to 2,938, like how many more humans that could be in the workforce? Do you understand what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
just like, this is the potential we have here. This is the potential we have. And really in theory, if that's 73%, and now that's an assumption, I recognize that.
Yep.
But that could transcend to, so that's even more of a case to just like, maybe theft isn't something we should really be putting a ton of time into, right? Because this means that, anyway, so I'm just wondering if that data point would have some significance and just represent the human body a little bit more and tackle some of that disparity stuff that probably comes into play on who puts in a reconsideration request versus who doesn't. Just a thought.
That is such a great thought too, because Jolene, like thinking about like, how do we talk about that? Like how do we, like that one data point, right? And how many people do get reconsidered and eligible to work, but like not just theft, what about all of them? Right? How many more people would that be in the workforce? And that would be a really great point to process, because the reason people don't ask for reconsideration is because the process is so arduous. And so that's, great job thinking about how do we use the data.
So I'm just, looking at that, it's like 2,144 people.
Yeah, it's an incredible amount. And maybe you just pick the percentage points that of the reconsideration, above 70% are always go through. Like, so maybe, maltreatment of a minor, I'm not sure if we're going to spend a ton of time in that space, that data, I'm not sure if you're going to get bipartisan support there, right? But something like where and an 80 controlled substance and an 88% approval rate for all reconsiderations, that just might be, to attribute some of those higher rates. Anyways, I was just thinking about loud and how to like make this more go to those bigger numbers.
I think
And-
I'd be most comfortable though, like talking about that as a verbal point. I'd be hesitant putting it in numeric form only because, again, this is total number of requests overall. So these aren't necessarily individual people. This could be, and help me out, those who understand it better. It's like, a single person could be reflected more than once in this because this is requests rather than persons. But I think it's an excellent point to make, it's like drawing the comparison between, well, gosh, if everyone were requesting, or more people were requesting, there's so much more ability to positively impact the workforce. So I think that's, I love the thought. I love drawing that out. And I think when we present these data anywhere, that's just, one of those verbal pieces we need to draw out. I'm just always hesitant to put anything in a quantifiable number that we don't have specific number for, but I think we should still certainly articulate it.
And I think that for like these charts that we're putting together, that I agree with you. Like, we don't want to make a bunch of assumptions as we're doing data analysis, but I think, Will, as we write the report, that it's okay to have, in the narrative form, to talk about, there's the potential for, at this approval rating, looking at it's this many reconsiderations for this many people, and at this approval rating, there's the potential for it to be this many more workers in the workforce, like in narrative form as part of the report. Like, we can talk about that at the beginning and then get down into the numbers.
Yeah.
If everyone requested, we'd have hundreds, if not thousands more jobs filled, that level of specificity.
Yeah. I think we got to keep it very general like that, again, just because, again, there's overlap in requests, so.
And there's some assumptions being made, like those 482, and, maybe are not like the other 2,400 or 2,500, right? Like, there's some assumptions being made in that data analysis, but it's worth just at least narrating out the potential.
Yeah, a person could ultimately say, I've, committed theft. I'm not reconsidering because I've had another, charge, or I feel like it's fit, for whatever reason, where another person says, I've made significant changes. I mean, it was a minor situation, or it wasn't considered, correct. Yeah, they're all different. I should just say, I agree with you. I agree with you. Yes. That's
Well,
really
do you want to make sure to highlight that?
Yeah.
As we get to writing the narrative, how do we highlight that?
So I have
highlight
this
that?
pretty prominent in my notes right now, Ms. Evans. I can actually send out an email just sort of as a reminder for all of us, just so we have it in black and white right after this meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing that I'm wondering if we just don't want to do right at the very end of it is just go, something like this, considerations, and say something to the effect of, in some cases, very low numbers. There are very low rates of reconsideration requests, yet of those requests submitted, there are high rates of determinations of eligibility to work. It should be further considered what impact It
I would
might,
use another note word than considered, because that's a prominent word in all that we're talking about. I would be noted, maybe it should be further noted, something like that.
um, how about
Just because we're
further
talking about
explored?
considerations. Yep, explored, that would be a great word.
Yeah, it might have on workforce, not word force, workforce. If the rates of reconsideration requests were increased. Does that make sense? Does that make any sense, or?
Yeah. Could we say, for example, and then give a couple of the ones where the rates are super high, for example, controlled substance in the 5th degree. Well, you
Yeah.
guys can see them. I'm kind of trying to flip.
Tell me a year in a crime, and or
7-year, 2018. What is that? Dishonored checks has an 89% reconsideration request rate. Controlled substance in the 5th degree, 88%. I think why theft is so notable to me is just the amount of humans that are impacted by that. I mean, in 2019, it's almost 5,000 people. In 2018, it's 3,000. That just doesn't even compare to anything else on these lists. And that's why I was highlighting the theft, I think.
I think we should use that one.
Yeah. So that for the 7-year disqualification. So 7-year disqualification, total disqualification was just under 3,000. So 2,900 approximately. With only 16% of people actually submitting for a reconsideration. And then in 2019, you've got approximately 4,800 people with only 17% requesting a reconsideration. So like for me, something's not right there, right? It's 4,000 people who probably, if they would have submitted it, probably would have had a good chance, a good shot.
Yep. Yep. And I think it would be good for us to like bring this point up at the next like big meeting. Like this would be a good thing for us to or to even talk about at the you know, as we're talking about process. Like this would be a great thing to show. Like I've been trying to figure out like how do we what is the evidence to show that there's an issue with process, and like this is it, like this is the data that shows that there's a process issue, right? Thanks, Jolene.
I don't feel like I can contribute as much when you guys are putting these graphs together, but once they get put together, I can look at them and understand them a little bit.
That's what we need. So I love it. I love it.
Sometimes I feel like I'm just here to help get quorum.
No, this is the input we need. So I appreciate it very, very much. So I'm going back here to 2017. Oops, you probably don't want to see my lecture notes for today. Okay.
I'm gonna be right back in 2 minutes.
Okay. I'm just trying to think how to word this in the most understandable way. Oops. And just trying to be careful because again, these aren't people, well, they are people, but in some cases it's not an accurate number of people because these are total number of requests. I believe it was 73%. Anyone got their slides open up?
Yep, 73%.
And that 73%, tell me the number of people or number of determinate, is that?
Just a moment. That is 353 people.
Yeah.
Or 353 cases, rather.
How's that sound? Like, not like?
It makes a lot of sense to me, Mr. Chair.
Can we put, like, if 73% were determined eligible to work, that number would be this many more positions filled or whatever?
Again, I want to be careful of that because, each case doesn't correlate to a single person. One person could have multiple cases. So I'm just trying to think how to phrase it without making assumptions we can't make. So I want to go there too.
Can we just indicate then 73% of that 100% would be this many cases?
yeah, and I think that's the safer way to go, Jill. Yeah. And what was the actual number? Was it 2,938?
I calculate 2,152.
Yep, I'm thinking the base number though. What was the?
Oh, that was yeah, that was 2,938.
Okay, 2,938. Thank you. If 100% of the cases requested reconsider and eligibility to work continued at the same rate, 73%, 73%, this would result in, and what's the number, Will?
Sorry, in 2152.
2398 times 0.73. I'm going to trust your number.
Yeah, I use it. I did it in the spreadsheet, so like I think it's using slightly higher, slightly higher percentage than 73% because of rounding.
You say 2,152?
Yep.
Yeah, that number is drastic.
Yeah, how do we feel about this? Is this good? Yeah, yay, I like it. Okay. I want to shift. And the other thing that Mr. Vogel helped us out with for this week is he put together some nice pie charts for us to take a look at regarding domestic assault. What we can see here, looking at 2018 to 2019, the total number of disqualifications for domestic assault. Well, in 2018, 862. 2019, there were 1,343. What we can see based on the evidentiary standards used, well, POE in 2018 was 42%, 35% in 2019. When we take a look at convictions, 36% in 2018, 35% in 2019. So that's pretty stable. Admission, 19% in 2018 and 27% in 2019. So a bit of a change there. Adjudicated delinquent, 3% in 2018 and 3% in 2019. So the shifts we saw were in POE versus admission. So that's the big shift between the two. Ms. Evans, I'll ask you in particular. I know that you've been working closely with this in another subcommittee. Is this the type of graphic that you think would be helpful? And of course, anyone else would love to hear from you too. Is this display done the way we wanted? Is there something else we want here? Give me your thoughts. I'm wondering, I'm thinking out loud, do we have a different pie chart somewhere else that has all of the conduct overall in 2018 based on evidentiary standard? And I think we just need to insert this different, somewhere else when we're all done with it, because I think looking at it, we might go, oh, well, that's interesting. It stayed relatively stable from year to year. But I think the big takeaway here is, is the rate at which, POE used for this particular crime significantly higher than, other crimes and conduct that are there. And I think that we probably have those elsewhere. We just need to align this more closely to those. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
And we certainly have that data. I don't think we have that in pie chart form yet, though.
Yeah, I was actually just going to try to go look here quick to see if I could find it anywhere, and I'm going to go.
What are we attempting to pull from this type of graph? Because when I look at it, the only thing I see is, yes, we had an increase of these disqualifications from 2018 to 2019 and a slight shift from preponderance of evidence to admission. I don't see a whole lot of anything, and nothing really stands out to me with this slide. So I'm curious. I know I've missed a meeting or two, so.
Yeah, and I think that's where some comparison overall by type would be most helpful. And maybe again, we don't have that. So that might be useful to have that comparison. Mr. Vogel, you don't happen to have the data handy for us to do that quick, do you?
I do actually. I have it in percentage calculated form. So yeah, I could do the 7-year disqualification periods for 2018 and 2019. Let me briefly check to see if I can get totals, actually. That would be simpler.
Got it. Yeah, maybe there's something that noticed from
Actually, that is the question. Do we want to do total evidentiary standards used for both years, or do we want to do the 7-year disqualifications, which the domestic assaults are in particular, which is more apples to apples?
I think it's within, because this is just, what we're looking at right here is just 7-year, correct?
Correct.
I don't know if we need to put that in here too, if that makes any sense. Well, no. Does that make sense to add that there, just in parentheses, or is that? Okay. Yeah, and then I think we compare it against the total for 7-year. Does that? Yeah. And maybe what I'll do is just duplicate the selected slides. And this, I think, will actually go before the other slide, just to make sense of it. And in 2018, Mr. Vogel, how many total 7-year disqualifications did we have?
Actually, let me calculate that, Mr. Chair. I don't think or wait, no, I do have that. Sorry. 6,461.
Thank you.
Yep. And of course, I had that calculated. That's how I get the percentages. There are too many spreadsheets on my computer.
And out of those, how many are adjudicated delinquent?
176.
Thank you. Admission?
472.
A convicted?
4,452.
Thank you. POE?
384. We also have 3 other categories. There's Alford plea, which is a less than 10, which we may just want to ignore for that reason. There's also involuntary termination of parental rights and maltreatment, both of which contribute to the total I initially gave you.
Yeah. Is that 6461 with just the 4 categories, or is it technically all categories?
It's all categories. I can calculate the total for just those 4, however.
Yeah, let's do that, or else I should be able to do that really quickly here too. But
Yeah,
nope.
well, I guess it's a race.
Yeah, I'll let you do it. Actually, I'm not actually in Excel. I'm just in the little build out. So I'll let you do it.
Sounds good. 3. Whoop. Nope. 384. So that should be 5,484.
We can come back and work on language here, but I think we need to denote that it's not all categories, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's take a look at 2019.
Yep. I'll get you the total first. It is 4. It is 8,782 for those 4 categories. All right, and totals would be 364 for adjudicated delinquent. I'll hold off.
Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Okay, edit data. So adjudicated delinquent was how many?
364.
364.
Yep. Admission is 1521.
Thank you.
Convicted is 6414.
Okay,
And then preponderance of the evidence is 483. And the vast bulk of the preponderance of the evidence cases in both cases is from domestic assault. Like that's pretty much when that evidentiary standard is used, as we
Right.
see in the data.
yeah. Total. This is the problem with the little pieces of the pie right here. So,
Yeah.
oops, I need to go back into edits. Okay, so Jill, now seeing this, looking at the overall, what it looks like for 7 years, 7-year DQs in 2018 and 2019, does that look more concerning?
Yes, that shows more of a drastic picture for sure.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we were missing there. So I think that just helps for the context. Yeah, if anything, I think we might need to work on just display here because we want it to be. I hate to drag it out, but
Can you just make the pie chart bigger so then those spots will be bigger so it can display all the data?
I like the pop outs with the squares so you have room for data inside them.
I like that you know how to do that, Gina.
It's been a ride recently. It's been a ride.
So now you should just be able to change the fill color so that, or change the color of the type style so it shows.
yep, something like that. You like that? Better?
You might be able to do that on mouse if you go over to format data label and go to the tab on the far left there, the thing that looks like a paint can. I think. Yeah. Whoops.
No, not
Nope.
what I wanted.
Never mind then.
Okay. Well. How does that look? Oh, here's the text. Doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. Haha. And I bet you that was probably what you're trying to say, Jill, that I wasn't understanding before. How does this work? Is this better?
I think it's
Jamie-
better because now you can see all of it, but do we need both the number and the percentage or just one or the other?
I like them both.
I do too. I do. So maybe we'll make this quick change here with these other ones. And we'll go outside and we will go text and we will go. How's that look? Ta-da! Yeah, I think that helps to really articulate the point we're making here better. I think we'll want to drag this back into, data set 3 probably, since this is more of a data set 3 thing at some point in time when we're ready. But I think this is good visual data. Everyone else like? Yeah. Okay, well. Anything
It
else?
looks great, Roy.
Thank you. Anything else we want to accomplish? Oh, I should ask, does this make sense? Selected categories? Does that articulate that we're just really talking about these 4 categories? Is that? I hope it's clear enough. Do we need to make it more clear? I think we'll call it good. Okay. What I will propose is that we call that good for today. I think this concludes everything we've been asked. So what I was thinking is maybe in our upcoming meetings, one of 2 things. A, as the report writing commences, we might be getting additional requests saying, can you pull something together for us? I think we need to allow for that. And if not, I think when we come back together in 2 weeks, it would be helpful to just start going back through all the tables, all the graphs we have for data set 1, data set 2, data set 3, data set 4, really putting them in order so we have a good comprehensive set, if that makes any sense, so it's easily findable. Does that sound like a fair plan? I think it just tells a story then as well too, and I imagine people might use it for various presentations, I self included. I was going to say Miss Evans and I are doing a presentation here at the end of October. It might be good to have some of these ordered and think through the flow and the story. And even like this most recent situation, we're like, oh, this by itself doesn't look overly compelling, but when you start to put it against a comparison slide, it looks very compelling. So, are we telling the story that we want to tell with the
and I think too, like what you just did with that slide to make the data points with the numbers and the percentages and stuff, like boldening them and doing all that stuff, it would be good to go back through and make sure all of the data, like that none of it's like overlapping each other, and that everything looks like consistent across. So I think that's a great idea, Roy, for us to go back through and like, what does the data bring evidence to, and then making sure that they each are like consistent and readable and all of that.
Sprinkled with a little bit of, I didn't remember that we even looked at this before because it's been a few months. At least that'll be me. So, oh, good. Well, I think then we're at a good spot to call it a day, unless anyone has any other work that you have in mind. Okay, well, I want to say a big thank you. I will look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks at our next subcommittee meeting. I hope you all have a great couple weeks ahead. And with that, we'll go ahead and call this meeting adjourned.
Thanks,
Thank
Brett.
you.
Hey, I emailed Will, but just a heads up, I won't be at that meeting.
Oh.
So good luck. This is great info. So
Awesome. Thank you
I'll be-
so much.
I'll be in Bemidji.